One of the best-selling game series in history is Nintendo's Mario Kart. Since 1992, over 175 million copies have been sold, earning over $10 billion. The appeal is simple, harking back to the oldest axiom in games. Easy to learn, difficult to master. Add in beloved Nintendo characters, and it becomes impossible to put down. The absolute best in the series is Mario Kart 64. Though a sequel to the original Super Mario Kart, the series became what we know it as today, on the N64. How can a sequel set the course of a series more than the original? To find out the answer, stay here for the story of Mario Kart 64. The Mario Kart series debuted on August 27, 1992. The original game, Super Mario Kart, had its beginnings in exploring the technical possibilities of the Super Famicom. In the nearly 2 years that Nintendo's 16-bit hardware had been on the market, a number of games that pushed the boundaries of what was possible on screen had come to pass. Two of the earliest games that broke new ground were Pilotwings and F-Zero. Fans at home marveled at the graphics of these games as playfields rotated in a three-dimensional space while objects scaled in and out. Pilotwings wasn't much more than a technical demo. Though there were clear goals, it was not a very action-oriented game. F-Zero had a level of difficulty above what the average Nintendo gamer would expect. As well, both games were only one player. Along with Super Mario World, Nintendo's initial 16-bit offerings gave no option for simultaneous two-player action. This led Shigeru Miyamoto, who produced all three of these games, to create something that filled in those gaps while still being a technical showcase. The final result was Super Mario Kart, a two-player game that was simple to pick up and play, great for quick sessions with a friend, and most importantly, very fun. Rather than high-speed racers, Super Mario Kart used slow-moving go-karts, traveling around themed courses that resembled stages from Super Mario World. 8 characters were playable, all of them from the Mario series. Some were slow to start but could reach a high top speed, while others had great handling. These can help the player gain an advantage to secure a win. Most importantly, 2 players could enjoy the game at the same time, with an amazing rotating point of view for both players, known in Nintendo circles as Mode 7 graphics. One of the major technical obstacles that Nintendo, and others, have faced time and time again is that once a next-gen hardware set is finished and released, that machine is frozen in time, with no real way to improve it. The only thing to do is work on the next-gen kit and go through the whole cycle all over again. There were workarounds that incrementally improved hardware. In the 8-bit era, Nintendo often used specialty chips to create effects that were never intended, or even imagined, on stock hardware, and without them, certainly impossible. The Super Famicom used some as well, a series known as the Digital Signal Processor chip. The DSP-1 that was featured in Pilotwings was also used in Super Mario Kart, taking things a small step beyond what a standard game could do. Super Mario Kart went on to be one of the best-selling Super Famicom and Super NES games of all time. Just short of 9 million units were sold, while gaming magazines gave unanimous praise. There are, however, several flaws in the game, ones we didn't see or just didn't bother to care about given the standards of the time. The main problem is that the player is forever bound to split-screen gameplay. In two-player mode, this is great, but in solo mode, the player is stuck on top, with the unused half featuring an overview of the course and who is in what position. You can also push the select button and see what's going on in your rearview mirror. Very cool, but the eternally scrunched up graphics get tiresome after a while. The controls are far from perfect. Digital inputs really didn't mesh well with the smooth Mode 7 rotation. In other, older racing games, such as 3D Hot Rally, it was a bit easier to tap the control pad to follow the curves of the course. In Super Mario Kart, it's just too messy, slipping and sliding all over the place. The L and R buttons are used to jump and drift, but nothing seems to work as intended. Add to the fact that in Grand Prix mode, the racers in the back are ranked out, and you only get 3 lives, which leads to frustrating game overs, early and often. Other things drag the game down. 5 laps per race. Coins determine your top speed. If you can't collect any, or keep losing what you have, to the back you go. Ranking out is not far behind. The power-ups are split between game modes. Like the Boo power-up, well, it's only available in Battle Mode, which doesn't have the Lightning Bolt. That isn't to say Super Mario Kart is a bad game. Far from it. The two-player modes, especially the battles, were a blast to play. It's just that many 16-bit games, not just Super Mario Kart, pushed the envelope but could only go so far. It would take the next generation to go any further.
Mario Kart 64いよいよ登場。任天堂64でしか体験できない新しい迫力のバトルレース。2人、3人、4人対戦プレイなら超面白い。マリオカート64ツインカラーのコントローラーとセットで新発売。
Nintendo had a successor to the Super Famicom in the works while all of us at home were enjoying Super Mario Kart. Plans for a 64-bit game machine were officially announced in August 1993 under the codename Project Reality. This new hardware set came directly from Silicon Graphics, a company that specialized in computer hardware designed to create digital special effects in film. Project Reality promised detailed, immersive 3D worlds and gameplay never before seen. It took nearly 3 years for its final form to be realized, when in June 1996, Project Reality went on sale as the Nintendo 64. With a more powerful 64-bit CPU under the hood, the N64 made good on the promise of a 3D future that Nintendo was attempting with the Super Famicom. Along with the intense computer power, Nintendo developed a unique controller to take advantage of 3D environments, centered around an analog stick, allowing for complete 360-degree motion. Sure, it was still difficult to navigate certain areas in Super Mario 64, and retraining your brain not to use the now useless directional pad was extremely difficult. But this new design was the way forward, because N64 games would have never worked correctly with the older Super Famicom controller. As the N64 was being worked on, mostly out of the public eye, a few games were prepared for the first public showing, which came in November 1995. Alongside Super Mario 64, the Ocarina of Time, and some games that never saw the light of day, Super Mario Kart R was announced. Unfortunately, the game was not playable at the time. Mario Kart R, later renamed 64, suffered delays that Nintendo was infamous for, with the game going on sale in Japan in December 1996. And the rest of the world in 1997. Much like all the other games that were once Super and were now 64, the new and improved Mario Kart had some major changes to it. First, the game runs in full screen in single-player mode. This alone is the greatest improvement of all. The graphics are sharp and bright, with so much detail, more than Super Mario Kart ever had. In full screen, all vital information is shown as you race. Your time, the number of laps remaining, the top 4 racers, and your own personal ranking. The game features true 3-dimensional graphics. Mode 7 was never really 3D, but with 64 bits of power, courses are fully navigable spaces, rather than a flat plane that's rotated to create an optical illusion. There are also layers of terrain that complement the 3D maps. Hills and valleys are seen in several courses. There are jumps everywhere. Bumpy terrain slows you down and makes things harder. There are also a few places where you can veer off the beaten path. Gameplay has gone through an extensive overhaul. Each race now only lasts 3 laps each. Though that's fewer times around the track, the courses themselves are bigger. The average time in each course is about the same as Super Mario Kart, depending on speed. But in 64, 3 laps give the player more challenges to overcome, while being less repetitive. The number of courses has been changed to 16, 4 cups with 4 courses each. This is less than Super Mario Kart, but each of the 16 tracks are wholly original, unlike having 3 variations of Mario Circuit, for example. There are also now 4 speeds. The standard 50, 100, and 150 cc's are open from the start. Earning the gold in each of these unlocks the extra course, where everything is backwards. The rank out system is gone. and with it, the concept of lives that Super Mario Kart had. If you're dead last, you get infinite do-overs. It's tough but fair. The courses themselves resemble many famous scenes from Super Mario 64. Peach's Castle, Bowser's Lair, and Sherbert Land will look familiar. There are also very new creative courses. Toad's Turnpike, Yoshi Valley, and DK's Jungle give an homage to playable characters, with everyone getting his or her own specialty course. Certainly the biggest change to Mario Kart 64 comes in the 4-player mode. And the only time in video game history someone didn't try to cut costs on something, the N64 came with 4 controller ports. No multi-taps needed, no cost passed on to the consumer. 4-player N64 games weren't common, but Mario Kart 64 gives that option in battle and versus modes. The on-screen graphics are scaled down perfectly to a quarter of what they are in one player, as if to say each player has a miniature screen. To help pull off this amazing feat, only the course objects are 3D polygons. Everything else is drawn as a traditional 2D sprite. Even though all of the characters are not truly 3D, the images were rendered and drawn from multiple angles to give the impression of being a 3D object. When things get too close to the camera, it's easier to see this trick. Everything gets blocky. Nothing's perfect, but it works most of the time. While the time trial races can accommodate 4 players, the Grand Prix mode is still only 2 at a time. In 2-player mode, the screen is split in the same manner as Super Mario Kart. However, the point of view is presented in a wide-angle shot. Nothing is obscured or crunched. It works very well. Most of the original 8 racers are back. The only new addition is Wario, who became a breakout star after 1992. Donkey Kong Jr. is now only known as Donkey Kong, adopting his Donkey Kong Country persona. Koopa Troopa is out. The racers have similar attributes once again. Light racers move faster than heavier ones. Some can manage turns better. Mario is the most balanced overall. The N64 utilized an expansion port in the controller that allowed for transfer of data outside the cartridge, meaning you could send a copy of your best times on a certain course to a friend, who could then race against a ghost version of you on a different N64 and cartridge. As for the control scheme, the new analog system handles well in the game. Combined with the Z trigger on the back for launching weapons, it makes the go-karts feel like airplanes in a dogfight. A makes you go and B hits the brakes. Some of the unusual yellow C buttons have a few uses. Up changes between a close-up view and a wide-angle shot, a view similar to 2-player mode. Right changes the heads-up display, giving the options of the course radar, a ranking that goes around the entire screen, or a speedometer. R is for jumping, drifting, and handling sharp turns. L, strangely enough, turns the music off. Who'd want that? Who's even heard of a Nintendo game without music in it? Anyway, it's there. The analog controls also allow for a few things impossible on the older Super Mario Kart. Holding B while pulling the stick back lets you go in reverse. Holding B and A together while moving left or right makes a spin turn. Both are perfect for when you get off track or somehow wind up going backwards. The power-ups in Mario Kart 64 are expanded from Super Mario Kart. The Mushroom, Superstar, Boob, Banana, and Lightning Bolt are all back. Now, some of these come in multiples. 3 mushrooms for a triple boost. 3 shells for a protective shield until you fling them. 5 bananas to really mess up someone's day. Then there are all the new power-ups. The Super Mushroom for an unlimited speed burst. The Fake Item Block, a very clever bonus that lets you leave a block behind. If placed correctly, it could cause a crash. The Spiny Blue Shell is the last new addition to the game, and the most feared and devastating. This shell will follow whoever's in first place and wreck that cart. The items are balanced based on ranking at the time the items are taken. For those in first, the chance of a banana is higher than anything else. More dangerous items are not even given to someone who is in first place. It makes sense because bananas would be the best choice for someone in the lead, while a blue shell wouldn't be so useful. Being further back gives a greater chance for stars, bolts, and the blue shells, always giving those that fall behind one more chance at a comeback. And coins? They don't exist in the game.
your seatbelts for a 360-degree burnout. Precision handling for 1 to 4 drivers. New Mario Kart 64. It really kicks asphalt.
When Mario Kart 64 was let out into the world in December 1996, the gaming media took notice and gave their thoughts on the game. Famimaga magazine previewed and reviewed the game extensively in the final weeks of 1996. The magazine offered detailed statistics of each racer and course. Detailed maps were shown for all 16 courses. The maps point out where difficult spots are located and how to handle things like sharp turns, steep jumps, and shortcuts. Each course map is illustrated with a top-down view, something not possible in the game. Famimaga also interviewed Shigeru Miyamoto, where he shared stories of game development, as well as his thoughts on the final product, which at the time of the interview would be released the very next day. To celebrate Mario Kart 64 Eve, Famimaga baked Miyamoto a cake featuring an edible Mario and Peach's castle. In the US, Electronic Gaming Monthly was the go-to source for previews in 1996, bringing news of Mario Kart R and its evolution into 64 across the sea. EGM awarded Mario Kart 64 Game of the Month for March 1997, with a score of 37 out of 40. The review crew said the game was a blast and takes over Super Bomberman as the best multiplayer game of all time. 4-player modes give it sky-high replay value, and that MK64 was several times better than the Super NES Classic. GamePro issued a perfect score in April 1997, mentioning that players of all levels will instantly pick up on the fun, and that Mario Kart 64 is a grand homecoming for fans. Elsewhere in the world, N64 magazine from the UK issued a score of 91% in July 1997. Stating that the game featured the same stunning world of Super Mario 64, with cheery music that offers months of racing fun. The article also discusses the difference between the versions sold in Japan, the US, and the UK, as back in those days, games converted for the PAL TV system often played slightly different. The N64 era also coincided with the explosion of the internet age. Both in 1997 and today, hundreds of professional and hobbyist review sites have gone on to review Mario Kart 64, with mostly positive write-ups. Did you know there are a few fun secrets in Mario Kart 64? In Calamari Desert, there's a very useful Easter egg that will give you a boost. Enter the train tunnel while carrying a superstar. Activate it inside the tunnel and you will automatically skip a lap, perfect for catching up if you're too far behind, or have been lapped by some show-off. In Frappe Snowland, there is a way to cheat your way to a super fast finish. At the start line, make a U-turn and drive to the bridge. Go off the right side and drive into the snow. Lakitu will pick you up and bring you back to start. Repeat and repeat for a finish in less than 45 seconds. In Royal Raceway, there's a fun diversion off the beaten path. After making the high jump over the water, turn right onto the pathway that leads to Peach's castle. You can't go inside, but you can take a look around the outside and remember the good old days of Super Mario 64. If you finish a cup ranking in the top 3, your character will join the trophy presentation ceremony. But if you rank 4th, that character will leave the ceremony, upset over the loss. A Bob-omb will follow you and explode. A very funny take on the concept of a bad ending. It's not quite Totaka's song, but there is a musical surprise for those with enough patience. Waiting on the race results screen will change the background music slightly. You need to wait a long time, 52.5 minutes. Or if you count replays of the song, 64 times. Pretty clever. Have you ever noticed that on the character selection screen, everyone blinks? It's a last-minute addition to the game, created after a mishap where one of the development computers suffered data loss, forcing everything to be rebuilt all over again. Starting from scratch encouraged the team to do things a little better the second time around, adding this little detail in the process. The voices in the Japanese and English versions are different. In Japan, the voices have less exaggerated accents and are a bit clearer to understand.
Here we go!
Here we go!
Bingo! Bye-bye!
Bingo!
I'm Luigi, number one.
Luigi is the top!
The title screen is slightly different too. A bunch of Japanese kids call out the name of the game. All of these little fun bits add up to the overall quality of the game itself. Layers of detail, seen and unseen, that make up one of the very best games on the N64. Mario Kart 64 was on sale for nearly the entire lifespan of the N64. When retirement came in 2002, Mario Kart 64 had reached worldwide sales of 9.8 million units, standing as the third best-selling N64 game overall. Today, the game is available as part of the Nintendo Switch Online service. Nintendo also sells a replica N64 controller for subscribers to recreate the original experience. The core foundation of Mario Kart 64 was carried on in future installments of the series. Each iteration experimented with different course designs and power-ups, while adding more characters. All the while, the same great gameplay was retained. Beginning with Mario Kart DS, courses from games of yesteryear were included. Retro Cups feature 4 tracks, each from classic Mario Kart games, all mixed together. With Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch, Toad's Turnpike, Royal Raceway, Yoshi Valley, Choco Mountain, Calamari Desert, and Rainbow Road are playable in beautiful, widescreen, high vision. A great way to bring things full circle.
Now in exactly 1 minute and 13 seconds, I'm going to drive my go-kart between 2 carriages of a speeding train. This stunt requires split second. There's a train going past! Why is the train going past now?
At the start of this video, I said that Mario Kart 64 was the true foundation of the series. Perhaps a little controversial, since Super Mario Kart was a fully formed concept. But I stand by this opinion. Super Mario Kart was fun, but once Mario Kart 64 came around, there was no reason to play it again. The graphics were amazing for N64 Year 1, and still hold up today, except for the blurry close-ups that sometimes happen. Playing those later Mario Kart games, all of which were fun, make me want to run back to 64 and relive all those memories. There has never been a feeling to run back to Super Mario Kart. Today, with the perspective of this being one of 8 games, the first of 8 games, things just feel disconnected. From 64 to 8 Deluxe, there is a clear, visible evolution, while Super only slightly resembles what came after it. Factoring all the things that were cut out or altered going from 16 bits to 64 makes the differences even more apparent. Sure, it was amazing at the time and did offer some fun. But to connect the dots from 1992 to today, it's clear that the vision couldn't be realized right from the start. Mario Kart 64 fits that concept to a T, a case where a game's formula and foundation weren't fully realized until Nintendo took that second swing. Some of it limited by technology, and the rest trial and error. I suppose you could say it was a case of putting the cart before the horse.
Hey, you very good. See you next time.